We've made commitments and promises to our seniors and those nearing retirement age and those who have paid into the system. So we have to honor those commitments and promises. But we also have to be realistic and get down to business so that future generations will have a system. That means that we have to have all options on the table while we commit to keeping our promises, but also really fix the system and get away from the campaign rhetoric and political division that keeps this issue from fully being resolved.
Social Security is a foundational program, and it's also an earned benefit that people pay into through years of hard work. They need to know that they can count on dignity, independence, and security in their retirement years. Unfortunately, there are those like my opponent who would fundamentally change the program. I oppose efforts to privatize Social Security or to gamble it on the stock market, and I think we should come together in a bipartisan way to look for ways to shore up the program, to make sure that we extend the life of it beyond 2034. There are 173,000 individuals in New Hampshire who are primary caregivers for a family member. That's partly why I'm a strong supporter of paid family and medical leave, so that individuals don't have to choose between taking care of themselves or a family member and losing out on a paycheck. There's a fundamental fairness involved that we need to protect. In addition to that, I'll stand up and protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid against attempts to privatize or voucherize those programs. And I'm also a supporter of respite care for individuals who are caregivers.
You know, I've had the experience of being a caregiver twice in my life, as a young man and as an adult. My wife and I care for her mother, and I also care for my grandfather. So I understand the importance of family surrounding one another and being that caregiver. I support legislation like what we've seen the president signing into law that will offer an opportunity for us to hear from families all over this nation to figure out the resources that are properly needed so we can come up with a solution to make sure that people are taken care of by their family. Clearly, I'm a free trader. I support free trade. I think the president supports free trade. If we look at what's happening recently with the EU, turning them around, we look at what happened with NAFTA. So great things are happening for the American worker. We're empowering the American worker by making sure that America's voice is heard when it comes to free and open trade. We can't have China telling America workers what is fair and open trade.
President Trump's trade war is hurting New Hampshire businesses and consumers. It's raised prices, and it's not helpful to our economy. That's why Congress needs to step up and insist on a more coherent strategy with respect to international trade. The renegotiation of NAFTA is a step forward, and I think we need trade talks so that calmer heads can prevail in ensuring that we have a more balanced policy that will respect our businesses and consumers. As an executive counselor, I approved more than $30 million worth of school safety upgrades, but there's more that we have to do to keep people safe. That's why I support common sense gun safety reforms that are going to prevent weapons of war from falling into the wrong hands and make sure that we have universal background checks so that all gun purchases go through the background check system. We need more than thoughts and prayers on this, and we can pass reforms in a way that respect New Hampshire's culture of responsible gun ownership and work to keep people safe and save lives.
First, no child should ever attend school worried about their safety. Parents should be confident their child is coming home in the same manner they left. And that's up to us to change the culture of violence that we have. Right now, we have pumped our children full of medication. We feed them images, over 200,000 images of violence on television. We have to cleanse our culture of violence and get back to a place where we have human decency and respect for one another. The best thing that Congress can do for the middle class, the American worker, is make the tax cuts permanent. We've seen unreal growth in our economy, 4% growth. We were told by the last administration that we could expect 2% is the new norm. So the best thing that Congress should do is make our tax cut permanent, And also, get out of the way of business, reduce the regulations and continue that path, because we've seen the reemergence of entrepreneurship right here in our state and across this country. Getting people out to start their own business is the best way to grow our economy, giving them opportunities. So the best thing I think Congress can do is stay out of the American workers' way and make sure they make our tax cuts permanent.
We need to create an economy that works for everyone. That's why I support raising the minimum wage, passing paid family and medical leave legislation, ensuring that everyone has access to quality, affordable health care, and making investments in higher education and job training programs. We need to make sure that people have the skills they need to get ahead and stay ahead in this economy. And I'll take steps to make sure that we strengthen the middle class and allow people to succeed in New Hampshire. There's much more we need to do to confront the opioid epidemic head on. As a member of the Executive Council, I provided the key vote to implement Medicaid expansion, a bipartisan compromise that's allowed 53,000 individuals to get health insurance in New Hampshire and provides coverage for those with substance use disorder. It's allowed us to confront this epidemic head on. We need to leverage more resources to invest in local law enforcement, to make sure that we invest in treatment and recovery and prevention efforts, and make sure that medication-assisted treatment is more readily available.
As a former law enforcement officer who was also trained as a drug recognition expert, I can tell you I've served on a number of boards throughout our state addressing this issue. And right now the DEA is doing a great job of partnering with our local law enforcement officers on the prescription drug take-back programs. That's going fantastic. But I also think we have to turn to the pharmaceutical companies and ask them to pay into these programs in terms of prevention and treatment. 75 to 85% of the folks who started with a prescription, first-time heroin users, started with a prescription opiate. So I think we have to go back and ask for their participation in paying for these programs.